In this lesson, we will explore the possibilities to configure and set up the functionalities related to planning for service. Now let's have a look and check what it takes to plan technicians on service requests. In terms of general time management, you need to have a general calendar of working and non-working days. In the setup of service orders, we already talked about the base calendar setup in the service management setup. Remember that you can specify such a base calendar of working and non-working days. On top of the working and non-working days, we also need to know what the service working hours are. They might be the same as the general office working hours, but they might be different as well. This is what we will define in the default service hours setup. Now, as a planner of service requests, you will also need to take in consideration the hour schedules of your technicians. How many hours do they work a week and on which days? This is where the work hour templates come in. A planner should also take in consideration the skills of their resources and the geographical locations of both customer and technicians. So in the service administration, you can find all these setup areas for your planning. Now let's start again with the general service setup. Remember that here in the general fast tab, you can specify your base calendar, so your general working and non-working days for service. So you can make a specific calendar for your service department. Then on top of that, you can see here we have the default service hours, which means like on which days are we working, what is the starting time, and what is the ending time. And you can make that periodically, so you can say this schema we are going to follow from a specific starting date until an ending date. And you can have multiple schemas, for instance, or you have one schema here, like specified here. You can also further configure whether or not these working times are valid on holidays or not. So these are the default service hours. So on top of the base calendar, which are working and non-working days, these are on which hours are we working, on which days are we working which hours. And then for the resources, you can see here that we have the work hour templates. So you see that you can specify all kinds of work hour templates, like a 30 hours work week, a 36 hours work week, a 40 hours work week, and so on. And you can specify how many working hours you have on each of the days. Of course, these work hour templates will be assigned later on to resources because they are specific for resources. So also for resources, you might want to use skill codes, and that means that you're going to make a match between the skills that are required from a technical perspective, let's say, to execute the repair on a service item, on a piece of equipment, and the skills that a resource is having. It all starts, of course, with configuring the skills, and as you can see here, you can make as many skills as you want, and they consist out of codes and descriptions. Later on, you have to assign these skills to the pieces of equipment that you want to service on one hand, and on the other hand, on the resources that you might plan in. Same goes for the service zones. So these are geographical classifications, actually, of the geographical location on which you're going to execute service, and you're going to make divisions in specific zones, and then you need to allocate these zones to your customers or the places where the service items are located, and on the other hand, the technicians. Why? Because you want to have the best match, the most efficient match, which involves the least traveling probably. So it all starts again with configuration. So here you have your service zones. Again, you can make as many as you want. You give them a code and you give them a description. Also remember that these might be applicable not only for planning but also for costs, because remember the service costs, the travel fees, are also linked to these service zones.